Okay, we're
Okay.
back with Dr. Earl Campazzi on Seniors Need to Know. And Dr. Campazzi is talking to us about what you need to know when you visit your primary care physician and medicine in general, primary care medicine in general. So I want to start off with a controversial topic, and that would be alcohol.
Okay.
And I read recently that the alcohol consumption has gone down from like maybe 60% of the population to 54%. So people are kind of moving away, a little bit more away from alcohol, but the majority of Americans still drink alcohol. So I guess my question is it worth the risk? Are there any pros or is it mostly cons on alcohol?
That's that is a loaded question
Yeah,
because I come from an Irish Catholic family
yeah,
who
me too.
who imbibed, and the older I've gotten, my view on alcohol has changed. It seemed like it was one of the life's necessities
Mm.
in the past, and I think it's becoming kind of the new smoking, because you talk about being intox- intoxicated, and that gets to the root of it's a toxin. And why do people kind of act funny and lose their ability to drive a car, or at least drive it well, or safely? And that's because there's a toxin in the body, and the liver has to detoxify. And certainly a lot of people like to drink. And what I hope to, by practicing medicine, is to give people choices and let people live and enjoy their life. So I'm not here to constrain, but for myself, I simply sleep better, as do most people,
Mm.
if I don't drink alcohol. There's not the extra calories, and I personally don't miss it. And I haven't had a drink in probably 2 years, and it's just also it gets to be a habit. And I'm not going to be an advocate for prohibition. I think that that's absolutely wrong for America, but I'm all about freedom, but also informed choices.
Right. I mean, it's a great social lubricant, but I guess it has disadvantage. I haven't had a drink in 4 years. I stopped drinking 4 years ago. And
Yeah,
you're right. You do sleep a lot better
yeah,
when you don't drink. And frankly, the only thing I miss about alcohol is the social aspect of it, not the,
yeah,
but it was interesting. About 15 years ago, when I was living in New York, I had a cardiologist who was very, very good cardiologist. And he said, how much do you drink a week? And I said, well, I probably drink about, third to half a bottle of wine a day. I don't drink hard alcohol, but I drink wine. And at that time, we were still living with the French paradox about, why red wine was good for you. It's not to say it isn't for everybody. I mean, I think people do enjoy wine, and I suppose drinking wine or a little bit of beer is better than drinking hard alcohol on your system because,
it's really the same. And one thing I drink is the non-alcoholic beer, and I think a lot of
mhm.
people have gone to that because somehow maybe it's a little. It looks like you're drinking, and you
Yeah.
sort of fit right in. And I actually always like the taste of beer, so that it works well for me.
Same here. I mean, they can't seem to make a non-alcoholic wine that tastes good. I've tried
Yeah,
lot of non-alcoholic wines, and
yeah.
I'll probably get comments now on the website about what's good with non-alcoholic wine, which I'd like to know. But the beer they make, the beer is quite good. It tastes like beer.
It didn't used to be. 10 years ago it wasn't, but
Y-
now
Yeah,
it's I can't tell the
I
difference.
can't either. It's
Yeah.
great. So, moving on to another controversial subject, gummies.
Mhm.
So, I know a lot of people that take gummies. People over 60, people over 70, people over 80 take gummies to help them sleep at night.
Yeah.
And I don't do that. I'm kind of wary about it because I don't know how the dosages are regulated of THC or whatever is in this thing to relax you. So, what do you think about
Yeah.
the
I
gummies?
For whatever you might think of the major pharma firms, at least what you get from them is pure and right at the dosage, whereas the manufacturers of these gummies don't have that kind of quality control. I don't like THC at all on a developing brain up to age 30. Now,
Hmm.
I know me saying that isn't going to change the world, but I think it adversely affects the developing brain. You don't have the overachievers and the stoners in the same group. Uh, but beyond 30, I mean, I don't have any sort of moral problems with it. And certainly anyone who, has cancer pain or cancer nausea,
Right.
whatever works, whatever helps them. But for sleep, I think I suggest, natural, better options. And even I would rather go with some of the prescription options rather than the THC with one questioning how good is it long term on the elderly brain, and two, what's the purity and what's the dosage that you're getting from these manufacturers.
Right, right. Share the same concerns you do. Is I don't know how it affects the elderly brain at all. I mean,
Yeah,
if it negatively affects a developing brain, yeah, I get that.
yeah,
But maybe as we age, our brain is more settled. But I'm more concerned about dosages and
mhm,
side effects than anything else. But
yeah.
it works for some people.
Mhm.
Um, Another topic I want to get into is vaccines. Which vaccines are really critical and mandatory, and which ones at this point are kind of discretionary? And maybe you can give us your take on what you would recommend people over 60 get.
One of the most underappreciated illnesses is influenza. That, with especially all the recent uh, focus on COVID. Um, and I think of all vaccines, the annual flu shot. Now, the trouble with it is it sometimes misses, that they have to formulate it in the spring and manufacture it in the summer. And during that time, the variant of the flu can change, or the one that kind of grows out in the population is different than what they thought it was going to be.
Mm.
So there are times when the annual flu shot really did no good, but you never know for sure. And I would say most years, probably 80% of the years, it's at least partially effective. And that can really save somebody that, is already has some other, maybe they have diabetes, maybe they're a bit overweight, maybe they used to smoke and they have some lung damage, some COPD, and to get a milder case of the flu rather than the worst case can be life threatening. There's around um, 40,000 people, just as a rough comparison, about as many people die of the flu annually as die in motor vehicle accidents.
Wow.
So it's not theoretical.
So even if it's only like 40 or 50% effective for preventing the flu, it'll keep you out of the hospital. Is that the point?
Often, yeah.
Off. So what about the pneumonia vaccines and shingles vaccines for
I, I
seniors?
I like them both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now the shingles vaccine, you have to know that's a vaccine that has side effects. So you want to get your shingles vaccine on a quiet weekend. So like on a Friday before a quiet weekend, because you may well run a little temperature and not be 100%. And great to watch football or something. And you need two of them, spaced roughly 6 months apart. The pneumonia vaccine, it was two vaccines. Now they've come out with a new one where you only need one pneumonia
Oh,
vaccine.
okay.
And it too is a great thing because a lot of older people die of kind of a secondary pneumonia where they're sick from a recoverable disease, but being in bed, which you don't clear your lungs as well
Right.
as my grandmother would say,
Right.
and you can develop pneumonia, and so you might well have recovered from the other disease, but now you have pneumonia, and the vaccine can make it can either prevent it or make it a much more mild and survivable illness. But a lot of people do die of pneumonia.
Yeah, I mean, I guess most people like myself that are over 70 probably had the two doses of the earlier
Mhm.
shingles vaccine and the two doses of the pneumonia vaccine back then.
Yeah,
And then Shingrix came out,
yeah,
another
yeah.
improvement on the original vaccine. So should people who've had the two earlier versions of the shingles vaccine, maybe 10 years ago, get the new version version?
Yeah, the Shingrix is just a better vaccine.
It's a
Yeah,
better.
yeah, that was about 50% effective.
Yeah.
That's off the top of my head, but the Shingrix is like 90+%. And shingles, just for those of you who don't know, it is the herpes virus from chickenpox
Right.
or from childhood that lies dormant in your body. And especially when there's stress, if there's a death in the family, if there, is another illness, if there's a car accident, whatever, and you're stressed, your immune system is a bit weaker, and that um, uh, it's no longer the chickenpox. It no longer causes chickenpox, but it's the same virus, and it'll come out and it'll cause a rash that is intensely red, very, very tender, and lasts like 6 8 weeks sometimes, and very painful. It just something, if you can avoid it with two immunizations, check with your doctor always. But in general, I advise that. But where it can be a real like disaster is when it comes out on the face. So it can lead to scarring, and if it involves your eye, it can lead to blindness in one eye.
Mm.
So one is a terrible irritant when it's on your back and your rib cage, but when it's on your face, it's something that boy, you would have wished you had gotten a vaccine.
Yeah. Are there any secondary effects to health besides the rash from shingles, from getting shingles?
Um,
Or is it just a
it's
nuisance?
mostly the secondary being the eye and
Yeah.
some scarring, but
Okay.
yeah,
That's about it. Yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so I want to go earlier in our first segment, we talked about your book on prostate cancer that came out last year.
Pancreatic.
Excuse me, sorry, I didn't mean to be.
Yes.
Don't want to get into prostate, pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
What drove you to write the book? Why did you write the book?
I actually, this is the second version of it,
Okay.
and it stems back to a patient of mine, and she's passed, and she gave me permission before she passed away. A wonderful woman, Suzanne Wright. She was
Oh, sure.
a co-founder of Autism Speaks,
Absolutely. I know.
and her husband Bob Wright was president of NBC, and Suzanne's father was a police officer, as was my father, so both for NYPD. So it was kind of a pleasure just to know her and to take care of her, and we did everything. And Bob enabled us to do contact anyone we could think of, and so many people just love both of them, at Google, at Scripps, Cold Spring Harbor, and we did our best to sequence her DNA, sequence the tumor DNA, to grow organoids, which are live cancer cells directly from her pancreas. It Scripps. I'm sorry, we grew them at Cold Spring Harbor, and then Scripps tested them, but we did absolutely everything, and unfortunately, we lost her within like 9 months of diagnosis. But going through this with her, I didn't want to lose all the information, so I sat and I wrote the first version of the book, and then I have some other patients, Moira and Dave Dooley, and Moira's first husband died of pancreatic cancer, and both of them are just such wonderful people, and they supported me. Moira really wanted me to write an updated version in memory and of her first husband. So that's how the second version came out.
This is a disease that affects so many people
Yeah.
or families.
Yeah.
I have friends that have died of pancreatic cancer. It occurs so quickly. I mean, most people don't find out until it's stage 3 or 4, right?
Yeah.
And it's too late.
Yeah.
And are we making any? Steve Jobs, I guess, is a great example of someone who tried alternate medicines to
You know,
curtail it, but I guess Is there any cure on the horizon or any progress?
Well, with AI, I have a good friend who's a physician who has someone in his family with pancreatic cancer.
Mhm.
And he said that the new drugs designed by AI seem to be more effective. Now, they're in early stage trials like phase one, but this woman is getting care up at Memorial Sloan Kettering.
Mm.
And by Eileen Riley, I believe. And the some of the new drugs are finally coming around because we really hadn't had anything that was effective in treating. It would slow it a little bit, but nothing that was really effective.
Right. I mean, talking about the cancers that we're still dealing with. I was reading in Europe, there in the UK especially, they're experimenting with some mRNA vaccines to treat cancer. I don't know. Do you see that as a
That
viable option?
that one I just don't know. The trouble is I don't think we partially do, but don't fully understand the transcription system and then the feedback regulation back to the DNA. And I just I'm not prepared
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
I just don't know on that.
Right. We're gonna have a segment on this podcast about quantum computing and AI in the
Uh-huh.
future, and I think that one of the ways that we may get there is with a quantum computer to develop medicines at the molecular level, or understand what's happening at the body at the molecular level to try to defeat cancer, some
That
kind of cancer.
that's happening right now.
Mm,
It's happening in every lab at the major pharma right now.
mm,
It's an interesting story that the Nobel Prize in chemistry, either last year or the year before, was given to someone who was essentially a computer programmer that we had a hard time. We- Everyone's heard of enzymes, but to really understand the enzymes, you need to know the amino acids and also how they fold, because how they fold is uh, determines how the enzyme is regulated and how it does its work,
hmm
whether it's work being repairing DNA or making new proteins or whatever. So, and to try and figure out the shape, the exact shape of enzymes, they had to crystallize them and do just image them. It was like they did it one at a time, and throughout history, I don't know, they did 1,000 of them or something. And the AI program, uh, say there was roughly 100,000 enzymes. They did the other 99,000 within like a year
mm,
with AI.
mm,
So it's just because they could tell from the sequence of the amino acids how those would fold and could tell the shape, and then of course they verified that, and that's just the astounding things that AI is doing now. There's some downsides, but there's some great upsides.
and that could also maybe lead to cures for some of these cancers.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Yeah.
This is funny, but there's a site that predicts your age of death and your date of death.
Mm,
And it was like tarot cards or something. Do I really want to even do this? Do I really even want to know? But and I'm basically in good health. I exercise. I'm 63. I don't smoke. I don't drink. And and my weight is about right. So I thought, what the heck? I'm curious. So I thought I was going to say something like 80 something,
right.
maybe 90 if I was lucky.
Right.
And it said exactly when I was going to die, August something, and I was going to be 115 years old.
Wow.
and basically the prediction was predicated that I was healthy enough to live to the point that AI would take over,
Ah,
and I would still eventually age out. But I, it's like catching the wave if you're a surfer.
yeah,
And I was healthy enough to catch the wave to live to 115. And I was just,
amazing.
they're like, I'm never going to check it again. I'm going to
Yeah,
go with
you don't
this.
want to go back and recheck it. It's like your blood pressure. If you get a good
Yeah,
reading, you don't want to go back and recheck it again.
that's right.
Well, thank you for being here. I want to ask you one thing
Yeah.
before you leave. If there's one piece of advice you could give to our audience, to seniors, what would it be?
I think we have to go back to what we said before, is really get a good night's sleep,
Hmm.
and that will, make so much else fall into place. You're not only diet and exercise, but you're going to enjoy the day much more, and you're likely to clear at least most of the proteins out of your brain, and if not prevent, at least delay any dementia.
Right.
So I would say, go back a good regular night's sleep, go to bed at the same time, and get up at the same time. You don't have to be fanatical about it. And once in a while, you're going to have a bad night's sleep, and once in a while, you're going to travel. But if 8 or 9 times out of 10 you get a good night's sleep, that would be my advice.
So the three pillars of good health would be a good night's sleep, number one, a good diet, number two, and exercise, number three, because you can't exercise, you have to be a bad diet. So
Yep.
those are the three pillars. So people listen up, three pillars,
Yeah. Good.
follow them. Thank you, Dr. Kim Pazzi.
Oh, thank
Been
you,
great,
Joe. A
great
pleasure.
conversation. Thank
All
you.
right. Goodbye.
Bye bye.